Hello. Beautiful today. It's a bit cold, but beautiful all the same. Nice to hear all the birds. We've got an aeroplane at the moment going over, which is a bit of a shame, but never mind. Okay, so just gonna have a little bimble. So this video is going to be, I'm going to read a couple of parts of what will be my new book. But I just thought I would start. Come on, my love. Hello, Bouncy. Just thought I would start with just a minute in the woods. A little bit of a bimble. And then we get on and I can read some bits. Okay, so thank you very much for your messages, really. People that have said, how are you? Because I had a bit of a heavy cold. But it was just a cold, you know, it was just one of those things. But I haven't had the cold or the flu, you know, for a long, long time. Same as anybody. COVID knocked all that out. And it's certainly very difficult to deal with, isn't it? You know, when you've got all these different ailments. But thank you anyway. I do appreciate it. Doing much, much better. So it's all good. You know what they say, life is good and good gets better. So I'm going to be, as I say, I'm going to be reading a few little bits and bobs of my book. So join us on a nice, peaceful, quiet, calm bimble. And you can either close your eyes and listen, or join us on a bimble, up to you. So let's have a bit of peace. Okay. So my new book is called Hope and Healing. Here we go. Enjoy. All the usual applies, you know, this is just my take on things, my quirky mind, how I see things. And if you get upset or offended, that's, you know, down to you, not me. Anyway, so this is called The Modern Teenagers. Every generation of teenagers is shaped by the social, political and economic events of the day. Modern teenagers are no different. Plus, they are the first generation whose lives are absolutely saturated by mobile technology and social media. We can refer to the modern teens as the iGens because of their constant attachment to their phones. Also, their valuing of individualism and their inclusiveness. The modern teenagers are growing up in a new reality, one where they are attuning more to machines and less to people than has ever been true in human history. In a world where technology is increasing our capacity to connect with people worldwide, it is also diminishing our ability to effectively connect with people in person. Teenage years are hard enough without the extra challenge of feeling friendless. You can't always find friendship in your phone, so look up and outwards. Put your phone away and connect in person. Learning the social skills necessary to connect with others will help you be more successful in every aspect of your life. The truth is, teenagers today feel isolated and more alone than ever. Even in the age of social media, with constant digital connection, a lack of deep friendships is creating a secluded void. A secluded void. Understanding the impact of social media, lack of personal togetherness, and the absence of trust can help adults guide teenagers through the vulnerable emotions of friendship making. Unlike us, the modern teens, or the iGens, are living in a world where they are expected to be gender fluid, which can cause so much confusion in their young brains. The iGens are hyper-stressed, politically engaged, often anxious and depressed. They feel constantly connected, but ultimately lonely. Teenagers face real concern. Between the ages of 13 and 19 years of age, on a daily basis, and this is the most awkward growth stage of their lives. During this time, teens are exposed to some overwhelming external and internal struggles. They go through and are expected to cope with hormonal changes, puberty, social and parental forces, work and school pressures, and so on. It is difficult for teens to respect authority these days. How can they respect anyone when the Queen pays millions to victims of her paedophile son? There is a liar and a cheat as the Prime Minister. Movie stars and sports people are now controversial figures paid ridiculous sums, and they think they are above the law. All politicians are snollygosters. All that, and the world is full of fake news. The good news is, the second they turn 14, they know everything. Yes, everything. Your job is done. You can now sit back knowing there is nothing that they don't know. Just remember, they are still children, really. They tell you you are being overdramatic. Change the Wi-Fi code. See who is overdramatic then. As parents, you can quit your job, break up with your partner or spouse, but your children are your responsibility for life. If you have kids, a part of your heart is always with them. They will weigh on your mind, no matter how big and old they get, because you love them. Sadly, children don't come with instructions. There isn't a parenting manual. Raising a child comes with a lot of surprises that makes it one of the toughest things you can ever do in life. Please remember, their behaviour, as baffling and as messy as it might be sometimes, is being driven by the changes in their brain, not by their desire to be difficult. They are wrestling with impulse and instinct, and they don't want to be disconnected from you. Their brain is developing faster than ever before. It's bad timing, but a lot of kids become teenagers just as their parents are hitting their midlife crisis. So everyone's miserable and confused and looking for that new sense of identity. It is so tempting to want your kids to be just like you, with the same likes, dislikes, attitudes and interests, even about trivial things like which team to support, hairstyles or clothing tastes. Don't clash with your kids over things like that, which really aren't important. If it isn't causing too much hassle within the family or totally going against family rules, then let it go. What they don't get from you, they will look elsewhere for. Obviously, there will always be some things you can't give them that they will look somewhere else for anyway. You won't be able to give them everything they need, and that's fine. The main things they'll be looking for are approval and validation and confirmation that they are doing okay. Give them plenty of everything. Even if they act like it doesn't mean anything to them, it does. Praise them, validate them. For instance, I get why that's important to you, blah blah blah. And give them loads of approval. Even if you don't approve of their behaviour, always let them know that you approve of them. Give them the space to feel what they're feeling, even if it's intense. If it's disrespectful, challenging, or angry, let it go. Let it wash over you. Don't even try to reason with them when they are dealing with intense emotion. You won't be heard, and this will just disconnect you. Walk away until it has passed. Then discuss it with them later. The world has really changed now. Young girls believe they need orange skin, fake nails, fake hair, comedy eyebrows and drag queen eyelashes. They all look like they were made in China. iGens, more than any other generations, are respectful and inclusive of diversity of many kinds. They now very easily accept somebody's sexuality or preferred pronouns without a blink of an eye. They reject offensive speech more than any earlier generation, and they are derided for their fragility and need for trigger warnings and safe spaces. Trigger warnings are notifications that material to be covered may be distressing. A safe space is an area that is absent of triggering rhetoric. The terms snowflake and cupcake are derogatory, and many modern teens do not see them belonging to any one camp when it comes to describing their own sexuality. The iGens have poorer emotional health because of their overuse of new media, which is making teens more lonely, anxious and depressed, and is undermining their social skills and even their sleep. Most modern teens grow up with mobile phones, probably had an Instagram page before they hit puberty, have seen sex, violence, wars and confusing, brainwashing messages for most of their lives, and do not remember a time before the internet. They spend many hours a day texting, chatting, gaming, web surfing, streaming and sharing videos and hanging out online. We know research shows more than 2 hours a day can cause untold emotional and mental health damage. It is no wonder how the national rise in teen mental health problems mirrors the market penetration of iPhones. Teens' social media and texting habits, as well as how they consume media, is changing the way they communicate, date, learn, sleep, exercise and more. The average teen is glued to their iPhone, Xbox, computer and electronic devices. For them, it is a real addiction, but not one they would ever care to admit to. As a result, smoking and alcohol use is at its lowest levels amongst young people in England since 1982. But in the 80s, kids would leave their bedrooms and go out with their friends. Now they leave just for a drink or food. The question is, who's buying them their iPhones? If they can't be responsible, should we be responsible for them? Many teens feel misunderstood. It is vital that their feelings and thoughts are validated, and that the validation comes from their parents. Parents need to approach their children who have been dealing with teenage growth issues carefully and in a friendly manner to discuss the concern. When adolescence is considered as a process rather than a threat, we are free to consider how to work with it rather than against it. When your child was little, all you want is for them to play alone in their rooms for an hour so you can get some peace and quiet. Then they become teenagers and all you want is for them to come out of their room for an hour and actually talk to you. Parents worry that their child no longer wants to talk to them, but they have all the answers they could ever need in the palm of their hand. Why would they come down from their bedroom for a chat with you, you can't compete with the information on their phones. Teens today are forced to live at a very superficial level, on the edge of society, with no acceptance and very little positive affirmation. They are expected to learn how to live from the internet and television, where they find little emphasis on moral value or personal excellence. In reality, the young always have the same problem: how to rebel and conform at the same time. So they end up defying their parents and copying one another. Their hard-fought individuality results in them looking like drag queen-faced clones of each other. As kids and young people, our silly ways were shared with only our close friends. We had very little to regret. But imagine having a film crew documenting your teen years and then posting it online for all and sundry to see forevermore. Think about every daft or immature thing you did or said in school or to friends plastered online. The internet has provided a permanent and public place for all of that to be exposed, shared and judged. There's always someone, mainly their friends, documenting their every private move and personal word. It's a pressure we were fortunate to live without. For the modern teenager, privacy is non-existent. We need to consider that when we make comments such as typical teenager to describe a mood or behaviour, we are saying to young people, this behaviour is normal, it is okay. It gives them an out, and they don't have to be accountable or responsible. This does not actually support the development of young people. Teenage years are the most formative years of childhood, when we really change into a more rounded adult version of ourselves. It has always been a difficult time for both us and them. It is obvious that a good upbringing makes an impact on how our kids will turn out. Many tend to think of teens as ignorant and argumentative, plus sullen and lazy. A teenager is always too tired to hold a dishcloth, but never too tired to hold a phone. The teenage period is normally a phase of immense rebelliousness, but with diversity, lying politicians and the nanny state we keep our kids in, there seems little to express their concern about. Besides, that would mean actually leaving their bedrooms, and that isn't very likely. We can't make technologies that capture dopamine, hijack attention and tether people to a screen and then wonder why they are lonely and hurting. We can't promote social movements that improve empathy, respect and kindness towards others and then become frustrated that our kids are so sensitive. We can't vote for politicians who blatantly lie and then wonder why teenagers are not honest or motivated. Society challenges teens and parents to improve, but can society take on the tough responsibilities of making decisions with teens' well-being in mind? The years between 13 and 19 are usually classified as turbulent times, as the children are going through many growth changes, physically and mentally. One of the best options is to approach these concerns with empathy and love. Teenagers seem to know a lot about topics that adults have very little knowledge or interest in. Rather than be intimidated by this, adults should embrace and flaunt the difference. The only thing teenagers like more than being able to show off that they know something is being able to show off that they know something adults don't. Giving teens permission To be the expert on subject matter is an excellent and affirming way to engage their interest and getting them participating. What teenagers want, as much as when they were little, is your love, your care, your respect and your attention. They want to be noticed by you. Too often, because teenagers are being moody and withdraw into themselves, we respond by ignoring them. Ignoring bad behaviour and not rising to it is one thing. Ignoring the person who is annoying us is another. It can become a pattern where they mope, so we ignore them. So they mope even more, convinced that we don't care. As kids reach teenage years, they need more than ever for us to watch over them. There's a lot during adolescence you can't control, but one thing you can control is what you're able to do to maintain a connection with them. Adolescence is not about letting go, it's about hanging on during a very bumpy ride. Even if the kids make us feel useless and pointless, as if they look at us like the last time they saw something like you, they flushed it down the bog. Joking aside, I believe the problems always come from the younger childhood, where somewhere along the way they had to come to the conclusion that their parents' love and approval was conditional of good behaviour and achievement. Many parents use punitive methods such as timeouts, removal of privileges, shaming, etc., in a well-intended, concerted effort to ensure their children are raised to be upstanding members of society, whatever the hell that means. This, coupled with achievement-based rewards and praise, sadly sends the message that with achievement comes love, and with misbehaviour comes reprimand. This can effectively close the doors for a trusting, honest and communicative relationship between parent and child in the future. I think that we should be listening to our children a lot more. Our children are living in the here and now, and they know what to do about it. We can teach our children about where we have come from, but they can teach us about where we are right now. Parents tend to come at their children with an arrogance just due to the fact that they've been alive longer. But this is exactly where the disconnect takes place. This is exactly how you are going to not be able to connect with your children at the heart level. Being alive longer doesn't make you better at living. There is nothing wrong in turning to our children for guidance on living in the here and now. We might become better people for it. We are not the only leaders here. We may be opening the door for them, but they are the brave ones stepping through. Unless your name is Google, stop acting like you know everything. If we all learn to cut each other some slack, we will learn lessons from each other. Teenagers' fears for the future may weaken their confidence and hope for themselves at a crucial and already difficult time of their lives. Their sense of a bleaker future may also make it harder for them to cope emotionally. They are being told so many different ways by their phones, but they are not being told how to be themselves. When they get past these difficult years, they will realise a lot, especially that they didn't need their heads full of being a social justice warrior or being woke. A lot of trying to be woke is simply shutting up. The #MeToo movement is just confusing. Black lives always did matter. You are allowed to be straight. Extinction Rebellion, Fear Camp, was trying to convince children we only had a few years left on this planet. Being known as a boy male and him is perfectly fine. Being ashamed of our history or pretending that things didn't happen is plain stupid. The list goes on, mostly fueled by people who are cleverly not letting their education get in the way of their ignorance. Remember, teens, a somebody was once a nobody who wanted to and did. Teenagers are not monsters, they just act that way. In truth, they are just people trying to learn how to make it amongst the adults in the world, who are probably not quite sure themselves. To many kids, you are living proof that manure can sprout legs and walk. Every word, facial expression, gesture or action on the part of a parent gives the child some message about self-worth. But so many parents don't realise what messages they are actually sending. Keep talking with your kids no matter what age they are. If they don't know what's going on, if you don't know what's going on, you lose all hope of influencing the outcome. To all those parents who are struggling with teenagers, just be patient. Even though it looks like you can't do anything right for a number of years, parents become popular again when the kid reaches 20. As kids progress through the teen years, you'll notice a slowing of the highs and lows of adolescence. Eventually, they'll become independent, responsible, communicative young adults. Parents have the primary responsibility in not only portraying respect, but also requiring it from their kids. You will get through this. Just remember, your child is not you. Okay, this is called time. A sad fact of today is that some people talk to you in their free time, others free their time to talk to you. Time is precious for all of us. What makes time so unique is it depends on each person how they are going to spend it. I think we all have a lot of things to do, and the number increases as we get older. Our responsibilities increase and life just gets busy. We now live in a world where every minute of every hour of every day is occupied with tasks, mundane or not. On top of that, people are not just doing one thing at a time, we're multitasking. Whatever we are supposed to be doing, we are also checking our phones, posting on Facebook, eating snacks, and checking our latest eBay sales. No matter how busy we are, we should always find time for who and what we really love. It is really important to give time to the different people we are close to. We must always take care of those who we truly value. If you attach value to someone and that person does not give you enough time, then there is something wrong in the relationship. Not enough time is only an excuse that is given when people want to avoid something. If we truly want to be with someone, we will always find time for them. If you do not sort out your time properly, you will notice that people who actually valued you are no longer with you. Just because you've invested a lot of time, money, effort, emotion into something or someone doesn't mean that you should continue investing in them, hoping that things will change. Sometimes it's better to cut your losses and accept that while you may have wasted time and energy on something, that it's better to stop wasting resources when it's clear that you aren't getting the outcome you want. It's still better to have wasted 2 years on something that didn't work out than wasting 10 years on it because you feel you've invested too much to quit. People make time for who they want to make time for. People text, call and reply to people they want to talk to. Never believe anyone who says they're too busy. If they wanted to be around you, they would. Loving someone who doesn't love you back is like hugging a cactus. The tighter you hold on, the more it's going to hurt. This is the part of my life where I quietly remove myself from anyone who hurts me more than they love me. Brings me more stress than they do peace, or drains me more than they recharge me. People are either a blessing or a lesson. I won't forget who helped me in difficult times, who put me in difficult times, and who left me in difficult times. We have to be careful who we trust. Salt and sugar look the same. Okay, thank you for joining us on this little bimble. Well, actually quite a long bimble. And thank you for listening to my words. I can't tell you that any section that I've just read is completely done, because until the very last minute I don't know myself, I tells you. Hello, Mum. Yeah, I really don't know until, I suppose until the final read through. That's what I found with book one, is that although I thought I'd finished the whole thing, when I did my final read through, it became clear that certain bits didn't work correctly for me, didn't sound correctly again for me. You know, everybody would have accepted it, and I thought, okay, this is what he means, and I didn't, so I had to chop and change things. A couple of spelling mistakes. There's always going to be spelling mistakes and stuff like that, you know. The way I look at it, we live in an imperfect world. Get fucking used to it. Anyway, we're doing okay. Still getting rid of this cold, so it's hanging around a little, but it is much, much better. Hence, you know, I'm in a t-shirt, I'm out. It's a chilly-ish day, but it's, you know, we're breathing fresh air. So, you know what they say. Well, they say two things. They say life is good and good gets better. And they also say, they also say, if you can get outside, get outside. Now they wear tie-dye, multicoloured clothing. They have a bald head and a glorious beard, I tells you. Take care and be well. Ta-da.